Now, before anyone tries to tell me that I'm a little bit too late to the party to be discussing this, I still consider this to be relevant, mostly because, well, this trailer only released about a week ago, and not to mention that there are still topics and themes that can be discussed within the video. I won't be able to have the same reaction as I would upon the first day of a trailer coming out, sure, but that doesn't mean new things can't be discussed. And I've kind of already done that before in the past with the original Double Cross trailer. Oh well, there's my excuse. So then, why am I making an entire video, an entire theory video, based on this one trailer? For the next game in the Monster series, Double Cross. I mean, I already did that with the announcement trailer, so why do the need of having to cover the other trailer? Well, normally I would kind of agree with that, unless it was kind of like a reaction for sake of things. Like, I was originally going to do one on the second trailer because of a new Deviant, but I decided against it. No, the reason why I'm doing this is because of the thing at the end, and what everybody is losing their crap over, the new endgame online monster for Double Cross, or that's what it appears to be, which seems like it's keeping and following the trend of what's been happening in the past generation of Monster games. We've had Dire Morales in Free Ultimate as the final online boss. We've had Gogmazios as the online final boss for 4 Ultimates. And now it seems like we're gonna have this thing as the final boss of the online mode for Double Cross. So great, nothing new to discuss. Well, that is until you consider the fact that it's mechanical. That it is unlike any other creature in the Monster universe. And when you consider that, alarms start going off in your head. Because if you're a Monster fan, if you read into the lore, if you read into the game series and on the wiki page, then you'll know exactly what this thing could potentially be. However, in order to continue on with this video, I'm going to need to bring this up. Some of what I'm about to talk about I have already covered in my original Double Cross trailer. While that may have been a few months ago, I would still prefer if you guys go back and watch that video to understand where I'm coming from about this whole ancient civilization gig, since you'll probably not know what's happening if you haven't watched that video. So, if you have not watched that video already, the link is in the description and on the screen right now for you guys to watch it. Or, if you're already caught up with the video, or if you've already read the lore, then you'll know what I'm talking about. With that out of the way, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So, I guess I'm kind of correct about my previous theory. In the previous Double Cross trailer analysis video, I discussed how the ancient civilization may play a bigger part in the role of Monster Double Cross, not exactly being the main antagonist, so to speak, but what with the clues that have been scattered around the series, such as the fact that the newly discovered ruined ridge had something to do with the ancient civilization, what with the buildings and ancient trees surrounding the place. I also connected that the new Elder Dragon mascot, Baru Faruku, or Volfalk, as he's called, may actually be connected to the ancient civilization. While I may not be correct on the whole Baru Faruku being a guardian of the ancient civilization thing, I am correct about the ancient civilization playing a bigger part in Double Cross. So, let's go over some new things that I didn't cover. Now, first off, why is this new monster such a big deal in the Monster community? I mean, it's just some sort of mecha dragon, that's all. Well, that is until you're reading into the lore of the series. One dark part of the ancient civilization's history was known as the Forbidden Act, which went against all rules of nature. Think of it basically like the monster equivalent of alchemy. By using both technology and biology, quote, this society was able to create their own life forms by using equipment and materials to build them from scratch. However, this experiment was very evil due to one reason. In order to make a new life form, another creature would have to lose its life in the process. Because of this dark process, the Forbidden Act was shunned and disgusted upon by the dragons of the past. Oh yeah, that's another thing. I'll cover another piece of the ancient civilization history with the Great Dragon War later on in the video. But for right now, all you need to know is that the dragons were not pleased in the slightest by the ancient civilization's actions, because the action itself went upon nature itself. So, by using this method, the ancient civilization could create life. What was the first thing that they created? This. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you the Equal Dragon Weapon, or Wyvern Machine Soldier. A life form that, quote, required about 30 horses worth of dragons, meaning that hundreds of dragons were needed to make only one equal dragon weapon. That, ladies and gentlemen, is a big clue as to what this mecha thing could potentially be. Think about it, a biomechanical weapon created by shedding blood of hundreds of dragons just to create one? And that definitely seems like a strong comparison. Another thing about the Equal Dragon Weapon is that the more blood the Titan shed, the longer it lived. So, not only would it grow stronger by killing, but it would also live much longer. Luckily, you don't need to worry about these things trudging around in the monster world anymore, because, well, the Great Dragon War happened. Here's where that part I mentioned earlier comes up. Because of the forbidden act performed by the ancient civilization, the dragons were mad. They were angered that all the other dragons were dying, and as such waged war against them. They were sick of the kind being used as humanity as cattle, and they were sick that humanity forgot the rules of nature. Thus began the Great Dragon War, which basically eradicated the ancient civilization from the face of the Monster Hunter world, and basically brought about an extinction to almost every single Elder Dragon species. Yeah, that's right, people. You may think that there are a lot of Elder Dragons in the game already, but just think about this. Almost all Elder Dragon species went extinct during that war, meaning that these dragons we're facing in these games are the last remaining species. Sure, there will probably be more to be discovered, but think about that for a sec. That's over millions of species of Elder Dragons being dead. That is insane. As such, because of this war and the act, the ancient civilization has been long gone and forgotten in the world of Monster. Though, many of their buildings and places still stand, and as I said in the previous video, the Ruined Ridge could potentially be one of their locations that have been left over time. Which is also where my whole theory in the previous video about Barufaraku being a guardian of the ancient civilization went in through, because at the time we really didn't know much. So then, this new monster revealed at the end of the trailer, is it the Equal Dragon Weapon? Currently, that's what the comic consensus believes. However, I'll be honest, I don't think it is. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's a possibility it could still be the Equal Dragon Weapon. However, due to the differences I've seen throughout the footage and pictures released on the internet, I'd have to say that there are a lot of differences between the two that often contradicts each other. So, let's actually analyze the footage and the pictures to discover what we know about this Elder Dragon, or unknown monster. First off, this monster is composed entirely of machinery, not biology. In fact, if you look for the entire few seconds this monster is shown, barely any flesh, if not any, is shown on the monster. Just mechanical parts. Not to mention, broken mechanical parts at that. Meaning that this monster, whatever it is, has been dormant, rusting away for a very long time. Second, the head shape between the two different entities are different. The Equal Dragon Weapon shares more of a resemblance with its head with a hunter's helmet, what with the whole face guard and plate shown and the spikes at the top. With this monster, however, it's more circle-like. Notice how its mouth and head shape is more like a wyvern than a human head. Third, the monster's teeth are different from the equal dragon weapon. I mean, who knows if the equal dragon weapon even had teeth at all. But this thing definitely has teeth, and if we zoom in, the position of these teeth and the look of it are a lot different than the equal dragon weapon. Yet another difference. Fourth and finally, the loads of different machinery on top of the monster's back. Now, if we zoom in on certain parts of the picture, and not to mention during the footage, we can see several different machinery-like structures on top of the monster's back. One of the more noticeable things is what appears to be a Dragonator-like spike, potentially one of the earliest in the history of these Dragonators, which wouldn't surprise me. Second, if we zoom into this picture in the upper left, we can see that there's some kind of wheel structure on top of the dragon's back. We have no idea what this structure serves as, but if we look at the equal dragon weapon, we see no such structure on top of its back. No Dragonator, no wheel, just what appears to be some spikes and wings. Now already the differences are clear. However, does that mean it won't be the equal dragon weapon? No. It still has the potential to be. However, I think the chances are very slim. Not to mention, there's the whole fact that, remember guys, the equal dragon weapon was only one of the many weapons they created. As said in the quote, the equal dragon weapon was the first weapon they created. And from that quote, we can imply that there are many more weapons that they created besides the equal dragon weapon. So if this isn't the equal dragon weapon, what if it's a different weapon entirely? Not to mention there's the whole difference of size between the two. I mean sure, the equal dragon weapon looks large in its own right, but this thing looks absolutely gigantic. And in the footage we see, the camera is actually zooming up to get even a look at its head and body. That tells us, just from the scale of this thing alone, that it is much bigger than an equal dragon weapon. So, what does this mean? Well, I have 3 theories as to what this thing could potentially be. Option A would be that it is the equal dragon weapon, just one that has been left to rot alone and rust for a very long time until being reawakened lately. Option B is that it's an early version of the dragon weapon. Sure, an equal dragon weapon was the first to be created. However, why can't we say that there were potentially failed attempts? I mean, it really is like alchemy from Full Metal Alchemist. Sure, there's the chance it could succeed, but there's also the chance it could fail. And that, what if this thing was a failure? Something that didn't end up being an equal dragon weapon. Option C would be what I said earlier, that it is not an equal dragon weapon, but instead something totally different entirely. Out of all these 3 options, I'm mostly leaning towards option C, but overall it seems that my theory that I presented in the previous video still seems to hold up, that the ancient civilization will indeed play a bigger part in Monster Hunter Double Cross. First there was the ruined ridge, what with all the buildings and ancient trees on it, and now we have this thing, possibly one of the biggest pieces of evidence throughout the entire series, and one of the biggest changes as well. That is insane. So overall guys, that's all I'm going to say for this video. And I want to know, what do you guys think this monster could be? Which do you go for? Do you go for option A, option B, or option C? Or heck, if you believe in something different entirely, let me know. I mean, this thing is potentially one of the biggest game changers in the Monster Hunter franchise and one of the biggest things to happen. So of course we're going to speculate like heck on this thing. And so that's where I'm going to end off this video guys. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe, anything to help support my channel. It really means a lot to me. And hey, while you're here, why don't you go check out my Blaze Blue videos, where I deal battle online with some of the toughest opponents yet, and some salty people here and now. I will leave the link on the screen right now in the description below for you guys to go check out these videos for yourself. I'm the Monarch of Dragons, signing off, and have a fantastic day. Peace. Okay, sorry this video is actually not finished yet. I just felt I needed to bring something up because I just remembered that this existed. So on Reddit, in-game screenshots and download pictures were released of the DLC for Monster Hunter Double Cross, which was discovered by people digging into the demo files in Japan, and what came up were several of these pictures. Now already, this is a big game changer. First and foremost, deviant monsters can now be hunted in the arena without having to use those special permits, which I bet many people are going to be happy about. Second, the Fatalis trio returns. If we check in the fifth to bottom row in the middle, we can see Black Fatalis, Crimson Fatalis, and White Fatalis respectively. And I know a lot of people were disappointed in saying that if the equal dragon weapon or whatever this thing is was in this game, why aren't the Fatalises? Well, guess what? They're in this game and they're back. Another thing to note is that Chaos Gormagala and Raging Brachydios are back as well, so that's definitely something to keep an eye out. Fourth and finally, something new has been discovered. If we look at the 6th row from the bottom, on the left farmost picture, we can see a new monster that we have never seen before. It kind of looks like a Celtis. I mean, what with the whole praying mantis look, and not to mention the whole bee look it has. But it looks totally different from it. Not to mention, the strange thing is that this thing is right next to the Elder Dragons. I mean, if we look to the left of it, on the 7th row from the bottom, we can see Baru Faruku to the left of it, and the rest of the Elder Dragons to the right and bottom below it, meaning that this thing may be a powerful monster or even an Elder Dragon. Who knows? Anyway guys, I just thought I'd bring this up at the end of the video because I had no idea where else to put this, and I want to know, besides the previous question, what do you guys think of this new monster right here? What do you think it could potentially be? I'll await your guys' replies and answers in the comment section below. Okay, that's the actual end of the video. Bye-bye.